続きましては女性ご紹介いたします。アンドレア・ハーマンさん、カナダからです。アンドレア・ハーマンさん、マニトバ大学麻繊維栽培科学修士、ヘンプテクノロジーズ社代表、リッジインターナショナルカンナビスコンサルティング社創設代表、HIA 麻産業協会前代表でいらっしゃり、名誉会長でもあられます。また、カナダ麻栽培免許保持者でもあります。カナダ、EU、南アフリカ、南米、オセアニア、アメリカなどの麻復興支援に活躍されています。アンドレア・ハーマンさん、拍手でお迎えください。
Thank you all very much for having me. It is an honor to attend, and I'd like to take your photo so we can share our happiness with the world. Happiness! Thank you very much. So today I will speak about hemp food safety. In addition, I will give an update on a variety trial happening in the United States. In addition, I will give you an update on Canada and current regulations in the USA. So part of that food safety are looking at these particular steps, including certification, field handling for both the seed and the grain, the storage, cleaning, the processing, and the certificates of analysis, and then finally into packaging for the retail shelf. So part of that is meeting the requirements as food safety. These are all the things you must consider when you're going to be working with hemp foods. Those include what obligations do you have to the regulations? How are they interpreted? What is missing within your company that you must fulfill? Maybe that's personnel. Maybe that's equipment processing. You need to make an action plan on how you're going to resolve any issues that may come forward. And then you also need to be able to think on your feet as issues arise every day that we must overcome, not only as individual companies, but as industries standing together. So these are just some of the things you may want to think about. And at the very end, at the bottom, is hygienic practices. Always making sure that you're producing a healthy, clean, safe food for the marketplace. So part of that is starting on farm. These are pictures of big grain bins in Canada. And this is where we store the hemp seed grain that we use for processing into food and for planting seed. Part of that is looking at moisture content at harvest time, typically around 18%, but no more than 25%, as you can cause rot or the grain to start sprouting or heating in the bin. You want to dry that as quick as possible down to a moisture content of 9 to 8% so that the quality of the grain and the essential fatty acid profile is maintained. Typically, hemp grain or hemp planting seed will store properly for 2 years under proper conditions. And continual monitoring must occur throughout the entire storage process to retain the quality. And as you can see here, we have clean grain on one side and then grain coming out of a mechanical combine. So talking about old ways of preparing food. So here you'll see two different types of old oil presses. These are with stone and weight and by turning to crush the seed to remove the oil. And here you see some old oil stones. These are millstones from Pennsylvania used to crush hemp seed into flour or meal to prepare into food. And here is some modern equipment, including oil presses, not only manual, but on the bottom you can see a hand press. So this is something that we could use on economies of scale in small communities to hand press our hemp grain or hemp seed. So how do we judge what is a safe food? Part of that is analytical, looking at microorganisms. The sensory is very important. How does it taste? Because if it does not taste good, consumers will not want to buy it. So very important. Looking at the levels of tolerance that are pertaining to your ready-made food regulations. So what are those regulations? We have to look at things such as E. coli, salmonella, molds and yeast. We have to examine the regulations to see how do we produce this food? What do our companies need to be licensed? Do we need to have FDA approval, for instance? And looking at other things such as industry guidelines, such as THC percentage in hemp foods, for instance, or where you're processing them at and the final product that you're making. Because the final product that you can make from industrial hemp varies depending on what country you're working in. When we're talking about hemp foods, one of the things that we really judge on the safety is the certificate of analysis. This includes the details that tell the consumer or the buyer of the hemp food that it is safe. These, as I said, include such things as E. coli, salmonella, also looking at such things as peroxide value for rancidity of the oil. You want to keep your oil nice and fresh, cold pressed, and cool in a cool environment. So now that we've discussed hemp food safety, I'm going to switch gears and discuss what's happening in the United States right now. As some of you know, the Agricultural Act of 2014, or also called the Farm Bill, had a provision which allowed states that had legalized and recognized industrial hemp as an agricultural crop to start conducting research. And this research also facilitated market research. And there we have President Obama signing the Farm Bill. This was something very exciting for all of us in the United States as we had worked together as an industry to help make this change. And we depended upon our legislators to assist. So please reach out to your legislators in your local communities, in your local counties, and on the federal level, wherever you live, to ask them to support the rights of farmers around the globe to cultivate industrial hemp. So here we have a map of the United States, and as you can see, in yellow are states that are growing industrial hemp this year, and in green are the states, with the green stars, are states that cultivated in 2015. So we are seeing more states every day pass hemp legislation to facilitate the cultivation within the states for research. And this map changes daily. So now we have Texas has come on, Michigan also, so more states every day. And one of those states is North Dakota. It was my honor to be able to help organize the industrial hemp planting seed for the state of North Dakota after 70 years of prohibition in that state. When I crossed Customs Border Patrol with the seed, I cried because it was a very happy day for me to be able to support the farmers in North Dakota. And these are pictures of the team and mentors to the team for that trial. We brought in seed from Canada, from France, and from Australia. So at the top there, we're having some fun in the hemp fields, which is always important while we were taking samples. Again, here's some pictures. Most of these were grain and fiber varieties, and each of them reacted differently in the North Dakota environment. And after this one-year trial, it was decided that the grain cultivars were the best cultivars for North Dakota, and that was because the existing infrastructure was already there, including combines, grain bins, seed cleaners, and a close marketplace for processing in Canada. So here we are with some of the grain that came off of that little small combine there and part of our team. So now that was a picture of what was happening in the United States, and those types of trials are happening in many states today, and many people are celebrating right now, as you are with us, because they are now planting hemp after over 70 years of prohibition. So now we look at the Canadian regulations. In 1998, the Canadian regulations were implemented, re-allowing the cultivation of industrial hemp as a food and fiber. There are certain regulations, such as we have a list of approved cultivars. One of our colleagues later will be talking about breeding program and the impact that has on the marketplace. It is very important that we grow cultivars that are for the purpose and application that the market that you want to sell into demands. Part of those regulations is THC level in the field, which is 0.3% in Canada, and then our colleagues in EU is 0.2%. Right now in the EU, they are also asking for regulatory change. Part of those is that we can only work with grain derivatives, which means the food that's processed off of the crop, in addition, fiber. Some of those will be we have to have a criminal record check, provide a GPS and a map of the field, and in actuality, the application is very simple and it's free. So there's no charge for a farmer to cultivate industrial hemp as it pertains to licensing. So on behalf of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, as you heard, I do sit on the board of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, the CHTA. This is very important, so my advice to you as you move forward is unification. So come to the table together as an industry to start making these decisions that you're going to need so that you have a unified voice when it comes to communicating with your legislatures, because we are all one as we start to work within each country. So the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance is representative of the industry by our board members. And through that, we do certain things such as look at applications for feed. Hemp is not registered as a livestock or animal feed in Canada, so we must do the research that shows the government that it is a legitimate product that we can use as a safe animal feed for those animals that humans are going to eat, for instance. We also are looking at developing standards, and those standards can be such as the certificate of analysis I spoke about earlier. What does that mean? So that you know, no matter which company you're purchasing a quality hemp food product from, that the standards are the same, at least the baseline for those standards. In addition, the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance and our members are very interested in helping develop the international market. Our colleagues are, of course, as you see, we have come here to help support the industry here in Japan. So part of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance initiatives are looking at national variety trials, because what variety will grow well in northern Alberta may not grow very well in southern Ontario. So the variety, as I said, must be for the application in the area. Some of the other initiatives are hog and poultry feeding trials and a hemp production manual. The hemp production manual is a farming guide put together by our farming members of the association to help farmers understand best management practices for cultivation. In addition, the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance is pushing for a regulatory review of our regulations that were implemented in 1998. Part of that is currently we're not allowed to work with the flowering parts or the green part leaf of the plant. As previously Paul stated that when he was in Europe, he was able to have hemp tea. In Canada, we're not allowed to make hemp tea yet. We're working to change those regulations. In addition, we work closely with our agricultural food development centers and Ag Canada to help use their power to have a voice of unification to the federal government. In addition, we have to look at long-term strategy. What do we need as an industry for long-term, and how can we start working on those initiatives today for plans 5, 10, 20 years from now? So the future of hemp in Canada, what does that mean? Are we looking to have 1 million acres in Canada? How do we drive that type of industry? How do we diversify our risk so that we can develop an industry such as canola? In addition, we want to look at utilizing different food ingredients across the board. The variety trials and breeding programs will help drive up the grain yields. And must understand, unlike our colleagues in Europe, our fiber industry, and you here, our fiber industry is very small. So it's opposite of what we see in Germany or the Netherlands, for instance, where it's principally been focused on fiber, but now we'll see change, and Ben will speak of that later. We look at how is a dual crop? How does that work? What's the application? How about triple cropping? And that means when you're taking one plant and you're harvesting 3 different parts for different applications. And this helps to increase the farmer's farm gate so that they make more money, because without farmers, we are not at the table. We do not have jobs if we do not have farmers cultivating this crop. So the farmer is number one, and we must stand together to support farmers so that we can have an industry. On behalf of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, I would like to invite you all to join us in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan for our 14th annual convention happening in November. If you would like to attend, please let me know, and we would invite you to make presentation for our delegates. In addition, I'd like to now speak about the Hemp Industries Association and education campaigns that can also be conducted here in Japan and other places around the world. This national education campaign is called Hemp History Week. And now I will show a short video pertaining. This is a grassroots
We're here
education.
at the Spindletop Farm, which is the University of Kentucky's research farm, and we are celebrating Hemp History Week. Hemp is a crop that was grown for centuries here in the United States. It had a long history of being grown here in Kentucky. This is the 2nd year in a row that they've been able to plant hemp for research here, and they're looking at it as a potential to replace tobacco for farmers here.
Kentucky farmers already know how to do this. We really want to see this model work for Kentucky.
There's a resurgence in hemp interest, especially in younger people. It's very important for our young people to involve in agriculture, because where's the food without the farmer?
The greener technologies are moving forward, and I think we would all agree that's a very positive thing. And the hemp fibers can certainly contribute to that end. We're hopeful for the day when hemp does become a commodity and far, far less of an oddity.
Hemp is going to be an alternative for farmers to grow a sustainable crop that is environmentally friendly. Hemp can be made into sustainable products like paper, sustainable housing.
From the fiber on the stalk, you can do textiles.
Hemp foods such as hemp seed, protein, and oil.
It's up to the consumer to buy the product or demand the product.
Consumers will see these products and realize that they're really beneficial in their daily lives. We've literally got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of hemp products being sold in the United States that are all produced from hemp grown in Canada and Europe and China. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that American farmers wouldn't be able to grow it. There's a lot of opportunities for people to get involved.
Hemp History Week is an opportunity for people to engage their communities around education.
Hundreds of grassroots organizers are supporting industrial hemp across the nation, educating their communities, hosting events such as fashion shows, documentary screenings.
Tabling and passing out information at farmers markets. Now that we're able to legally plant in certain states, people are hosting hemp plantings.
You can take action by writing your members of Congress and let them know that you support seeing hemp brought back to American agriculture.
It's very exciting to be on the forefront of this research. The future is wide open for this crop.
Learn more about Hemp History Week at hemphistoryweek.com.
So that is Hemp History Week. This is something that you can implement right here in Japan as a grassroots education campaign, not only to talk about the past, but to talk about the future and educate the consumers. So on behalf of the Hemp Industries Association, I would also like to invite you to Denver, Colorado, September 18th through 20th to attend the Hemp Industries Association in the U.S.'s National Conference. In addition, if you would like to speak at this conference, please let me know. So on behalf of all of my colleagues in the United States, Canada, and all the projects that I assist around the globe, I thank you for your time and your attention to my presentation. My name is Anndrea Hermann, and you know where you'll find me, and that will be in a hemp field somewhere around the globe. And I wish you all a hemptastic day. Thank you.
アンドレア・ハーマンさん、ありがとうございました。ありがとうございます。